knitters, welcome to the channel. This is Happy Valley Knits. My name is Debbie Kershaw and I live, I work and I do my knitting in West Yorkshire in the north of the UK. So today I've got a special project. I'm going to be knitting this Seaglass hat from start to finish with you. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I've had so many comments on the Seaglass sweater, which you see that I'm wearing. It's one of my most popular videos, so if you haven't seen it, do go back further into the channel and have a look. But people are saying, I wish I could knit it, but you're underconfident. You're not too sure about the colours. You're not too sure about the one-by-one colour work. So it occurred to me that it'd be a great idea to do a smaller project, for instance, the hat, and then you could test it out. It's a practice, if you like, and see if you want to do all of this sort of work in a sweater or the cardigan. So I thought that would be great. So I filmed myself knitting this for you. So take a look and see what you think. So I've got some Drops Charisma here in a nice dark lavender that I'm going to use for the main colour. And then I've got all these odds and ends from other projects. Might dig out some more as well to use as the contrasting colours. So as you probably know, it's a 1-by-1 colour work. So you knit yarn A and then you knit a yarn B, and you literally do that all the way round and then alternate on the next row. Now I'm going to cast on. You will need the Seaglass Hat pattern by Wool and Pine if you want to follow along. It's a paid for pattern, so I can't give you all the instructions, but I'm casting on now, doing a long tail cast on, which is a nice stretchy cast on. This is the way I measure out how much I need. You wrap the yarn round your needle, it's like one stitch. So if you've got, say, 20 stitches, you can work out how much yarn you need this way. So yeah, a lot of you did say you weren't too confident in trying either the sweater or the cardigan. But I think this hat would be brilliant practice for you, so that's why I decided to do it. Let's do this together, and then you'll know what you're letting yourself in for, how the pattern works, and it's just really good practice so that when you do come to one of the larger ones, you're feeling confident and you know what you're doing. So I'm going to carry on now using the long tail cast on here. Right, everybody, so I have actually transferred my cast on stitches to my cordless needle heads here because I realised that that cord I was working with was a bit too large for a hat. So this is a 12-inch cord, and then of course got my short needle points on the top. So I'm still using 3.5. I joined knitting the round and now starting to do my rib. So I'm doing a knit 1, purl 1 rib. So if you're looking at the pattern and you have worked out the size you need for yourself or for whomever you're making this for, go ahead, use a stretchy cast on. I use the long tail cast on, that is my go-to cast on. And go ahead and start ribbing. Now for my size, it's 11 rounds of ribbing. So I'm going to complete the 11 rounds of ribbing and then come back to you. Right, I've completed the 11 rows of the ribbon. Slip my marker, that's my beginning of round marker. And then we're going to do a further round on these smaller needles because there's an increase round here, which is a knit 5 and then knit front and back. So very simply, we're going to knit 5. You can see I'm an English style knitter. I'm a right hand thrower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you tension it in the left and you're picking, it's the same. Same techniques, but a different approach. It's all knitting. There we go, knit front, back. Okay, so let's do that again. 1, and I'm going to go, as you can see, I'm just knitting into the back of these purl stitches. It's a lot easier. 4, 5. But once we get into our 1-by-1 colour work, we'll be knitting the same thing. Oh, I don't know if you can hear my cat. That's my cat Simba. So knit into the front, you leave the stitch on the right hand needle, and then you go back into the back of the original stitch and knit again, and you've increased a stitch. So we're just going to do that all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll have to see what the increase instructions are for your particular size, because they're a little bit different. Yours might be increase 4, for instance. Okay, so we're just going to work around now to the end of the round and do all of our increases. Hi again. Right, I've gotten to the end of that round now, so I've done all my increases. That's looking quite neat, pleased about that. And now I need to switch up to the larger needle. So this is my Lantern Moon interchangeable needle set. And I'm going to go up. Now I'm actually using 4mm, which is slightly higher than the recommended, but that's what I need for my gauge. So it's great having interchangeable needles. You just keep your stitches all where they are. Now if you do buy a set, I'm sure you know this, but do make sure you get a set where you can tighten it with this little tightening. I've had a set before which didn't have that, and they were always coming loose. That's not great when you're knitting and you put a lot of you put a lot of effort into that, a lot of work into it, and you don't want any type of risk of losing those stitches and the work you've done. So do make sure you've got this little tightening tool and you'll be great. All right, so I'm now on the larger needle. I just slip that back. I put that there just to keep the BOR, the beginning of round marker, intact. So we'll put that away now. I've got small needles away there. It's a really lovely set actually. I do recommend it. I do recommend the cords as well. They don't twist. They're really good. Yes, it is expensive, but I treated myself. Not last Christmas, the one before. Right, guys, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. I've got my colours. I've put them in a little basket. And it's time to start doing the 1x1 colour work. Now, the way I do my Seaglass sweaters or any project is I use a main colour and then I just switch up colours every round. That's how I like to work. So, what have we got here? It's a nice pearl grey. Doesn't pop too much. We got black. I think I might start with black. Give it a nice dark base. Now I am an English style knitter, guys, so I tension in the right hand. I'm going to bring in my new colour. Obviously, if you're in the left hand picking, you do the same thing. It really doesn't matter. So we want one in yarn A and one in yarn B. I'm going to do it very slowly, picking up and putting down, just so that we really know what we're doing. It's very simple. So I'm going to want one in yarn A and knit one in yarn B. I'm going to do that all the way around. Now, if you're good at this, tensioning in your yarn on other fingers, you can do it like that. Oh, that's not the right one, is it? You bring up your left and you switch and you bring up your purple. You switch, you bring up your black. You switch, you bring up your purple. So it's a 1x1 colour work. Now, don't laugh at me because I'm not very good at left hand tensioning at all. So many years I've learned English style, so it's not really great for me. But obviously, if you are continental and you know how to do this, look at me. You know how to do this tensioning. You really will just tension the same thing, one colour in one, and you'll pick it, and then you'll bring the other one up and you'll pick that. I'm not even going to try, guys. I cannot do that. I'd have to do a lot of retraining of muscle memory for that.
And you know, I'm really happy with my English style. I don't think the style matters. It's your end result for me. So we're literally going to go one by one until we get to the end of the round. Now I am going to recommend, especially for the hat, that you do the magic knot to change colours rather than leaving lots of ends to weave in, or even the braided technique that you can do. You know, when you've got loads of ends and you braid them. I think that would be really good on the cardigan, but you don't want that sort of bulk on the inside of a hat. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go round right to the end, and then we're going to join the new colour in, and we're going to look at magic knot and see what you think. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so I'm just coming up to the end of that round. As you can see, there's my marker, and we're going to change colour. So as stated, we're keeping the mauve. We're keeping this dark lilac, as it were, and we're going to change up now. So I'm going to cut a ways down. I'll just eyeball that. That'll be enough. Excuse me, cut that down. And I've decided, and I'm going to now bring in this lovely bright green to give it a bit of a pop above the dark. Now, I know a few people have said, oh, I don't know how to do colours. I don't know how to choose colours. But really, for a Seaglass project, you basically just want to think of, if you've put a darker colour down, or maybe a dull colour, a neutral colour, go with a nice pop next. And for me, that works out well. You may have your own way. You may like all neutrals. That's not an issue either. You know, it's really down to you. But have a look. Just hold it to the project. If you think, yeah, that's going to go well nice there. Now, we're going to magic knot. We are going to magic knot. So I'm going to put the purple one over there, the mauve. Now, this green is actually a 4-ply yarn, so I'm holding 2 together, as you can see, to get the DK weight. Okay. Okay, so here we are. We've got our 2 yarns. So the first one, the bottom here, I'm going to put underneath the top one and bring it around to make a loop. And as you can see, the green yarn, the next yarn, is running through that loop. Then going to go under so I can make a proper knot. And there we are. Pull that. Proper knot. So that went under. We're going to do something very similar on the other end now, but we're going to come over the top instead of under. So it's under and over. Make a loop again, and as you can see, the black is now running through. Come over to knot it, and you've now got 2 knots. So there's your 2 knots. Now what you're going to do is simply pull both your colours, both your yarns, and pull that tight, and you've got a wonderful knot. Now with a rustic yarn, that's going to hold. Believe me, my sweater has held. Now, with yarns are a bit more silky, that's a bit more tricky, but you can still do that. And then we will put a little bit of fray stop, which is a fabric glue, which is fantastic. I'm going to show you that at the end. And now I've joined my new colour, so I am ready to use it. Let's bring our yarn I'll call it lavender. Let's call it lavender yarn back into play now. We've got our joined second colour, but now what we don't want to do on the second round is we do not want to put yarn A on top of yarn A. We want to alternate to get the beautiful pattern. So here we are, my beginning of round, slip the marker, and there's a yarn B. So this time I do actually want to put the lavender on top, so I'll put that on top, because it's a different one. So it doesn't matter that those 2 are next to each other. You won't really see that in the main thing. And it all works out wonderfully at the end. So there's my yarn A, and here's my new yarn B now, which has still got a bit black on it, but it's joined to the new green that's coming up. So again, we're doing 1 by 1 colour work, 1 in yarn A, 1 in yarn B. Now the reason I'm doing it like this, not the 1x1, but the reason I'm letting a little bit of black, I don't want the join all in the same place. I want to distribute it around. I find that works better. Now, when I did my Seaglass sweater, I started off by doing everything in the same place, and it was just not working. It was pretty bulky. Oops, that split a little bit there. One moment. Thank you. Pretty bulky and just didn't look right. There were a few holes showing because I was going to weave the ends in, believe it or not. So I ripped it back and I started again, which is a little bit painful. However, so pleased with my sweater now. All right, so you want yarn A, but that's going on top of a yarn B. And then a yarn B, which goes on top of a yarn A. So when you come round, you've got this beautiful, like checkered as it were, in different colours. And this, to me, is the beauty of the Seaglass patterns and the Seaglass 1x1 are very simple, really, 1x1. But by changing those colours up, firstly, you're using up all your little odds and ends that you've got. I mean, this bit of green is the very last bit I've got from a project. What was I using that in? Oh, I think it was, I know what it was. It was my Georgia Tam by Marie Wallen. It's in there. I also used it in another hat, I think, for a family member. And this is literally the last little bit left. But of course we don't, you know, wool is very precious. Yarn is very precious. This is a Jameson and Smith. And please don't ask me the colour because I don't know. Something like emerald green or bright green. But yeah, it's left over. When I get my leftovers, they go in my jar. There's my little jar there. Because they're not going to be wasted. It's great for projects like this, and also sort of like scrappy socks, maybe a scrappy scarf, which we'll do later in the year if you like. Do let me know if you like these scrap busting projects. And we can do that later in the year if you like. Because what I don't want to do is waste yarn. We could make little blankets, little mini blankets. Oh, bags. Oh, it's endless, isn't it? All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to carry on to the end of round and then we'll join another colour in. I'm going to show you the next colour as well, go over the magic knot again, and then we'll be on our way to doing that until we get, you know, we've worked the body of the hat and we're ready for our decreases. Okay, see you later. All right, so I'm back again. Made my way around with this lovely bright green. I'm a little ways off now, but I'm going to start joining in a new colour. So what I don't want is the knot to always be in the same place. So I'm going to join in the new colour. We'll put our lavender over to the side here. Got my lovely green, and I've now got like a pearl grey. So I'm going to bring a neutral on top of a bright. So for instance, for me, a bright on top of a bright is a bit clashy. This is also a bright, a bit too clashy for me. So I'm going to go with a neutral now, this pearl grey. We're going to bring that in. Okay, now let's make our magic knot to join. So we want to go under first, over the top. We've made our loop with the other thread running through the loop. Bring that all the way under and through to make a knot. There we go. And now on the other side we go over. So we went under, we're now going over, under and over, all the way round to make a loop with the other thread running through. And then make a knot, pull your yarn through, make a knot. We've got our 2 knots. And then again, you simply pull the 2 ends nice and tight. Again, these are rusticy yarns, that's going to hold. Oh, left a bit too much there, never mind. Try not to do that next time. Do actually keep these ends as well. All these ends together are really good as stuffing in little animals and things, if you do that, if you do anything like that. So there again, we have our joined yarn. So I'm going to carry on to the end. Just bring my lavender back over. And I'm going to carry on my 1 by 1 yarn A, yarn B. So we'll go up right up to the BOR now. Okay. See the pattern starting to emerge now. Alright, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to carry on doing this. So keeping my lavender as my yarn A, keep changing up with the magic knot in the yarn B. I've got a nice neutral here. The next I'm going to want to pop, I'm going to either want a yellow. I might keep that for a little higher up. It's just telling me it wants to be up there. I think I might go for the bright purple. No, too much lavender purple. Ah, that one looks good. So that's how I pick it. That's how I do it, guys. You know, I just sort of hold it up and it sort of speaks to me. It says, yeah. So that's going to be the next one. Or, oh, hold on a minute. Hold horses. Hold your horses. Oh, red. No, that's it. That's going to be my next one. All right. Let's get on with this body and I'll come back to you when I'm sort of say halfway through. I'm going to talk about colours. Hi everybody, I'm back again and I have completed the body of this hat. Now the next one round is a setup round which I've done, and it basically asks you to place a marker every so many stitches compared according to the size you're doing. So I've gone and done that, and I've changed up my beginning of round marker so I can see it differently from the others now, because it was actually just the same as one of those. So I've got my one there with my little stone on. Okay, and now I'm back to the beginning. So it's quite a straightforward, just get these yarns ready. It's quite a straightforward decreasing. You start off by knitting 2 together. You then work up until there are 2 stitches before the next marker, and you do a slip, slip, knit. You slip your marker and you continue. So quite simple. Now you need to still do it alternating your yarns, of course. So I'm going to need to knit 2 together, which in this case was a purple yarn. Now I'm going to have to knit another purple here. So it's okay, you can have 2 stitches together. You remember I had 2 summed together here, and you can't really tell. Sometimes you can, but you know it all blends in with the 1 by 1. There's so many colours and things changing that your eye doesn't really pick that up. Okay, so we're going to now knit across until we're 2 stitches before the next marker. It's not as easy to do this when it's not in your lap. I'm usually fine with it, but when it's on a table and you're trying to record it nicely for people, it doesn't always go quite right. So let's get across. Almost there. One more now. Okay, so we're 2 stitches before the next marker, so we're just going to slip, slip and knit. So that's slipping 2 stitches onto your right hand needle. Change their orientation so you can go through the back of the loop and knit those 2 together through the back of the loop. Okay, slip your marker. So now we've got to knit 2 together again. And again, I've got 2 purples. No, I haven't. That's fine. Wonderful. That one's worked out nicely. That's because I've got an odd number between my 2. My markers. Some people have an even number. The sizes differ. So you, of course, will need the pattern if you want to give it a try. Now, when I purchased the pattern for the Seaglass sweater, I got the hat pattern free. I don't know if they're still doing that, so that's something you could check out. I did look at the cardigan the other day, and it wasn't being offered with that, so maybe it was just the sweater. Okay, again, I've come up to here, so I'm going to slip, knit. I'm going to slip them knitwise onto my right hand needle and then knit them together, but through the back of that loop. Okay, let's use that. Slip it and then knit two together in the usual way. There we go. And that's what you're going to do all the way around till you get to your beginning of round again. So on every single marker you will have decreased 2 stitches. The next round is just going to be knitting in the usual way, alternating our colours, bringing your new colours in still when you need to. And then when you're at the end, you'll be just pulling your thread through to pull the whole hat together. So once I get up to that stage, I'll come back to you. Okay, and just like that, well, it was a couple of evenings later actually, not just like that, I have actually finished now. Let's have a look at the top of it. It looks lovely actually, look at that. Look at the top pattern there. Very nice. So I have decided I don't need to block this hat. It's a nice thick double layer. I'll show you the inside now. Here's my knots on the inside. They tend to be in the same place, but no, they're spread around. I mean, they tend to be in the same place on the body, but it's fine. I've been wearing it indoors and it's absolutely fine. And so I threaded, I weaved in my ends. So I had just a couple of ends that weren't knotted. So I've weaved those in, you know, the purple, of course. And then I went round and pulled through a couple of knots that were showing. I only actually had about 4 or 5 knots showing on the outside. So here's one here. If you can see that one there, you can see it's just a little tuft there. So what I'm going to do, keep my finger on that so I know where I'm going, turn it inside out and pull that blue through so that it sits nicely on the inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of fray stop on there. Fray stop is something you'll find in the haberdashery, a craft store, and it's for fabrics really. It basically dries clear and it dries flexible. But if you are slightly concerned about, and I like to use a little brush because I don't want to saturate it. If you are slightly concerned about these knots, you think they might come undone. Now, none of mine have ever come undone. I have used a bit of fray stop on some of the silky ones, as you can see. And if it's if you've pulled it through to this side and you do this, it just gives it a bit more of a, not a stiffness, but it just keeps it together and stops it poking out the other side. So if you are concerned, you can do that. Now, none of my yarns are really very silky. There is a little one there. It looked a little bit, I didn't chop off. I chopped it so close to the edge. I was a little bit concerned about that. And I thought, yeah, fray stop for this one. But the others are quite good, actually. I'm not too worried about them. No, they're all doing very nicely. So yeah, you don't have to worry about your magic knots coming undone. One of them is giving you a bit of concern, as I say, that one did. Fray stop that. And then let that dry completely. It will dry clear. It will dry flexible. I've got a little bit on the table here, sorry. Let's get that off. And it washes well. It stays through the washer. So, I mean, not that we put this through the washer. It's a hand wash, cool wash anyway, isn't it? So there we are. We're going to let that dry. Let's pull it through again now.
Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up there. I do hope that was really useful for you. I must admit, it's a very, very warm hat because it's got like a double layer, as it were, with a 1x1. And I do hope it's helped a lot of you decide whether you want to do a sweater or a cardigan. All right, so bye for now, and I'll see you next time.